about her experience and some of the opportunities in Asia. Lorene, do you want to share screen? Do you want to share presentation?
Hi, Kenny. Yes, please.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can do that.
Your video?
Okay. Please let me know if you're able to see that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, there's that up here. Okay. Sorry, just a minute. Trying to get the technology to work with us.
Are we able to see you?
Yes. Can you see me?
Awesome. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I would say good afternoon, but it's evening on my side of the world. So I am in Suzhou, China. And it is just hit 9 p.m. So I'm going to try to be as succinct as possible. The previous speakers have been really great with keeping to time. So I'm going to try to follow in their footsteps. Firstly, thank you, Kenny, for having me. It's such an honor to be able to speak to my journey and some of the opportunities that I have seen coming up for young graduates and professionals. And I hope that the session can, further add value to the summit. So just jumping straight into it, I'm going to really just be speaking a little bit about my journey, but I also really want to show some, or sort of speak on some of the opportunities that I have discovered that are here in China, in Asia, but specifically in China, because that is where I am based, and really hopefully hope that this will inspire someone. Okay, so just to start off a little bit, I'm of course just going to do a quick introduction, and that is where I will share a little bit about my story. And then I want to look at some of the postgraduate study opportunities, postgraduate specifically, because I think that is where the majority of our audience is at, either, in that stage, master's, PhD, maybe wanting to do a second master's. So I'll speak a little bit about that. Jobs as well, so job opportunities, teaching, we'll speak a little bit about that, and then just a little bit in terms of helpful tips and resources that has helped me in my journey. So firstly, just, personal background. As I said, my name is Lorene. I was born in Congo, but I'm based in South Africa and grew up in South Africa. That is where I studied. I did my undergrad and my master's at the University of the Western Cape alongside Kene and Dambisa. And I will speak to, something that Dambisa mentioned is really being open in your academic journey, being open to things beyond your academics. And I can truly attest to this because Dambisa and I would often find ourselves in the same spaces. If there's a workshop, if there's, a leadership program, we would be in those spaces together. So I can definitely attest to that. So I did my bachelor's in undergrad. I have a BA in psychology and linguistics, and then I did my master's in linguistics. And I suppose the next obvious step would be to do my PhD in linguistics. But at the time I thought, you know what, I'm not really interested in doing PhD right now. I really wanted to build myself as a professional, further build on the skills that I picked up during my studies. So I took a bit of a study break, and I say that in quotes. I worked for a little bit in the edutech space, so education technology, where I was, responsible for designing and developing courses. And that was quite a great opportunity for me, really just exposing myself to a different world, really building my professional skills. And then one fateful day, I got an email from someone at the university called Xianjiatao, Liverpool University in China. And, this person contacted me and just said, hey, are you interested in pursuing your PhD? And I thought, where's this coming from? I want to work. I thought about PhD in the next 10 years. So we set up a call, and at first I wanted to know, who are you and how did you find me? Because I don't know anyone in China. I've never been to China. So this was really random. And again, maybe attesting to something the previous speakers have said is the power of networking. So this person told me, well, I was in South Africa. I was a visiting scholar at UWC in 2016. In 2016. So I was doing my master's during that time. And he was a visiting scholar in our department, the Department of Linguistics. He had presented, and after his presentation, he and I had a conversation. And as luck would have it, or maybe grace or coincidence, he also ended up being the external examiner on my master's thesis. And so he said, you know, I put 2 and 2 together. I realized this is the same girl I spoke to at that conference. Was really interesting, you know, in terms of the research that I was trying to do. And then after having read my master's thesis, thought, wow, this is really great work. I would like this student to be my PhD student. So he basically recruited me, and then he told me, you know, a little bit about the university here in China. And it's never been on my mind, but I thought this sounded like such a great opportunity. Why not take it with both hands? And what was further amazing about this is, of course, I said, I don't have the funds. I've not planned to do PhD. And he said, no worries. The university has tons of postgraduate scholarships that I'm sure you would qualify for. And so he really helped me, walked me through that process of applying for a scholarship from the university. And then, you know, I was awarded that scholarship, which I'm really grateful for. So I'm currently doing my PhD. Now, you might be listening to me and then looking at the slides and thinking, what? She's saying that she's in China, but she's a PhD candidate at the University of Liverpool. How does that work? Well, if you look at the name, Xianjiangtao Liverpool University, this is a Sino-Briton university in China. And that means that there's a collaboration between this Chinese university and the University of Liverpool in the UK. And what that means is that ultimately, administratively, I am a student of the University of Liverpool, because my degree will be awarded by the University of Liverpool. So essentially, I'm an off-campus student of the University of Liverpool, and my campus being the campus in China. So it's a little complex, but it's such a great opportunity because it gave me the opportunity to live and experience life and study in China under a UK or British university system, right? And so everything regarding the administrative side, the submission of thesis and vivas and all of that happens with the University of Liverpool. So that's how I'm essentially being able to benefit from these two systems, which has been such a great opportunity. And so far, the benefits of living in China really has been appreciating this blend of tradition and modernity. You know, China really, really developing so fast in so many areas. Living is really affordable, I have to say, compared to, of course, Europe and Western countries. But, you know, still a very good standard of living over here, efficient transport, diverse cuisine. And one of the other things we have been required to do is to learn Chinese or Mandarin. And so I see that as just another win, because Chinese is one of the most spoken languages in the world, right? Over 1.3 billion speakers of Chinese. So I think that will only increase, just increase my portfolio and my CV, right? So that's a little bit about me, how I got to where I am. So yes, I'm based in China, but I am studying with the University of Liverpool. And another amazing benefit of this type of establishment, and I'm talking about this because there are lots of opportunities here, not just at my university, is that you get the opportunity to also go to the UK because of this collaboration with these between these universities. So last year I had the opportunity to spend a semester in Liverpool and spending time on that campus, because I do have a co-supervisor who is at Liverpool. So again, I just got another opportunity to travel and to see the world and experience a different culture. So really, really great benefits over here. So let's talk a little bit then about these study opportunities. So of course, I don't have to, sing China's praises too much. I think we all know how China is moving in terms of development, technology, research. And, they have these really huge globally recognized institutions. And of course, the culture is so different, but I think it's in that difference that we really get to learn and to grow. So China has of course a lot of great world-class universities. We have universities like Tsinghua University, Peking University, which is actually ranked. I think Peking is ranked the 15th in the world, 15th top university in the world. I'm sorry, it's 23rd. Tsinghua is rated 15th in the world, we have Fudan, which is rated like 34th in the world. So really top universities, you know, that are just Chinese universities. But then, of course, we have these Sino-foreign universities. So we have the university like mine, so with Liverpool, but then there's also Ningbo and Nottingham University, which is a collaboration with Nottingham University in the UK. We have University of Michigan and Shanghai. So, you know, we see these different collaborations. So students really have the opportunity not to study in China, but to get degrees from universities from across the world. And then, of course, there are these opportunities, exchange opportunities, which are really great. The great thing that I have seen is that almost every international student that I've spoken to here is on scholarship. So, you know, the Chinese government is really, really generous with scholarships for students. And this is across disciplines, across levels, mostly postgraduate, but across levels. And so some organizations that are really have a lot of scholarships is that, of course, there's the Chinese government scholarship, there's the Confucius Institute scholarships, which are for those who are wanting to learn Chinese. And then there are, of course, university-specific scholarships. So, for example, I am under a university-specific scholarship because it was awarded by the university. Okay. So, I'm really trying to rush through this. So if there are any questions, I will just check them in the chat later or during our Q&A session. So I'm moving away from the studies. I would like to talk a little bit about the teaching jobs, right? So China, there's a huge demand for English teachers in China. And I do want to emphasize, because a lot of times when people speak of teaching jobs in China, or English teaching jobs in China, it is more about ESL, so teaching English as a second language, which is a huge market, right? So we're looking at teaching a kindergarten, teaching primary schools, high schools. But I do want to say that there is also a huge need for English teachers in the university spaces, right? So for those of us who say, well, I didn't go do a PhD or a master's simply to teach primary school, right? I think some of us may have those reservations about certain jobs, but again, I will say to Dambisa's points, I don't think anywhere above any jobs, and to really be open to the opportunities. So you might see maybe, hey, let me go in as a primary school teacher as a pathway into then, you know, looking for jobs at universities. But there is a huge need for professors, for lecturers in universities, English speaking, and not only for English teaching, right? Of course, all types, all subjects, from marketing to engineering to IT to all types of, every field has a need for academics, for lecturers, of course. And the Chinese universities that I have, you know, engaged with, they really do want international candidates, right? Because it improves or it increases the profile of the institution in terms of internationalization. That is there's a huge drive for internationalization of university or educational institutions. And so you know, the more international candidates a university have, or, you know, top professors from different parts of the world, the more, I suppose, prestige that university seems to be. The university that I'm at really has a large population of international professors and lecturers from UK to US to Africa to Asia to, you know, Australia, really across the world. And it makes for such a unique learning experience for the students in that space. So yes, some of the qualifications, of course, each job, and I'm not going to go into that, but every job has its, you know, qualifications, but sort of the basics, the baseline qualification or requirements is that, of course, you need to have a bachelor's degree, which I think everyone sort of ticks off that box already. Have some form of teaching certificate, right? So TESOL, TEFL, this specifically if you are wanting to teach English, either at primary, primary level, high school level, or university level, you do need to have some form of TEFL or TESOL certification. And then, of course, for the English teaching roles, there is a high sort of drive or high push for native or fluent English proficiency, right? Because if you are teaching English, that of course needs to be a huge requirement. Of course, for other academic posts, they would have their own requirements, and you can always look into that once you see the adverts. And so what are the benefits and perks? I will say China, the market, the ESL market, and the sort of international talent coming into China are really blessed, I would say, because the institutions are offering really competitive salaries, right? And I say really competitive salaries because I'm in a few groups on WeChat, and they're always posting jobs almost every day. They're like 50 jobs posted a day. And when I see the salary ranges, I'm like, wow, that's really a lot. And I show it to a Chinese friend, and she's like, whoa, you know, she absolutely cannot believe that this is how much people are earning, because it's so out of range from what the locals earn. So, I mean, we can argue about the ethics of that in another time, but it's just to point out that the salaries really, really are quite competitive. And the Chinese one is not doing too bad. Well, I think there was a dip recently, but generally the Chinese one is not a bad currency to be earning in. Oftentimes, okay, I'm just checking time. I think I 1 or 2 more minutes. Oftentimes, as part of these packages, you also get free housing. Almost every job post that I see has either a free apartment, or, you know, they would give you an allowance for housing, as well as, you know, things like flight reimbursement, insurance. So a lot of benefits. They really try to make the packages as attractive as possible for international talent. And yeah, of course, in addition to that, you get the opportunity to immerse yourself in Chinese culture, to learn Mandarin, and to just, I think, experience a very different but very interesting way of life. Okay. So yeah, I think just in closing, some of the tips and resources, firstly, I would say, and again, you would notice there's a pattern here. Networking is really key. Like I said, my scholarship opportunity, my study opportunity simply came from a conversation that I had in 2016. So networking, really, really important. Don't take any interaction with people for granted. Be open to cultural adaptation, especially with a place like China. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what China is like, what the Chinese people are like. But I think if you're wanting to come to a place like this, to really be open-minded, ensure that your documentation is in place. And then I have just listed a few useful websites. Maybe we can put them in the chat as well, for those scholarships that I mentioned, as well as for some of the job boards for university jobs, as well as just primary and high school teaching jobs. So yeah, that's it from me. I really hope that this was helpful. I also invite any questions for those who would like to learn more about China and some of the opportunities here. Thanks, Kenny.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorene. And there are a few questions there, although some of them were directed to Dube, but I think you could answer that as well. Someone said, I've been receiving a lot of rejections for my applications for PhD. How do I manage that? Can you give the person some advice on how to manage rejections?
Cool. I think rejections generally, though, I can't speak to, you know, being rejected for a PhD program because of my unique experience, but I have, you know, looked for work, you know, in the past and dealt with a lot of rejection. I think to really take them as stepping stones, I think every rejection you learn something about yourself, and to try very hard not to internalize it, right? It's definitely not a reflection on you. There's so many things that happen that are beyond our control, and to really, try not to take it too hard, and don't give up. That's what I'll say. You really just have to keep going.
Absolutely. I think maybe let me add something to that. Sometimes you just have to come to a point in your life in which you believe in your future so much that you just take one particular, or every rejection you face as just a stepping stone along that line. I must tell you, you are going to face a lot of rejection, a lot. That doesn't mean You know, sometimes I am amazed at where Lorene is because I knew her story from the first day she stepped into the university as a first-year student. I knew a lot of times she had to face a lot of rejections, right? And I am amazed at where she is now doing amazing things. It's just part of life. But that's where you build resilience because you must believe that you have something to offer life. Your future is actually great. And so you must summon the courage to keep pushing, keep applying, keep looking for other opportunities. And I can assure you, you are going to get it. Someone is asking about which institution to recommend for TOEFL. I think is it TSOL certificate?
Yeah. For TESOL, there are so many. There's actually one that does do a free course. So I will find the link and I'll put that in the chat. It's usually inexpensive, but if we can do something for free and just commit the hours, usually 120 hours, then sure, that's fine. So I'll put a link in the chat that I can recommend.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. And they're also asking for your email. It's up to you if you want to share or if you want to link them to your social media, that's up to you. Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that in the chat as well. Thanks, Kenny.
Yeah. Any other question before we move to the next item? Any other question? People are raising hands. I don't know, how does the hand raising work with this?
What we
Okay,
can
you can allow them to talk.
I think they can, exactly. They can get in with.
Guys,
Shall I?
Yes.
No, I think it's an individual thing. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Dina. Hi. Sorry. Come in. Dina?
While we wait for that, I did see a question about the language in China, and I know that is a huge concern for people. I would say that of course, when you step into a new space, whether it is China, whether you're going to Germany, it helps you, right? It is good for you to learn the language of where you're going. But in the initial stages, I will say China is quite easy. If you have a phone, you can get around with everything because you've got translations and everything in terms of payments and administration is done on your phone. China is also very tech savvy. So you can get away with not a word of Chinese, but I would not recommend it. I think it's best to learn the language so you can interact and engage with the locals, and life is just smoother when you can learn the language. Yeah.